I'm standing in my backyard in Birch Ridge, hose in one hand, coffee in the other, when I see what can only be described as a parade of madness. Tiki torches marching off into the tree line like a bunch of drunken soldiers at midnight. Up on the hill, there's Patrice Delaney, our HOA president, self-declared queen of the views, holding up a citronella torch like the Statue of Liberty and hollering, "Commence the view restoration." And I'm telling you, the woods answer right back with a whomp that rattles my coffee so hard I nearly wear it. Then, I see a squirrel, smoking, singed, running for its life with its tail half gone and its dignity shot to hell. 2 minutes later, Trish herself is running, because her brand new pergola, the one she bragged about at every meeting, is up in flames, the fire climbing those fancy cedar beams like they're trying out for a heavy metal album cover. Yeah, I'm Marcus Hale, just a regular guy who writes software, loves his Beagle biscuit, and would sell my soul for an uninterrupted Saturday nap. I moved out here for the trees. Honest to God, that's all I wanted. Old oaks, big maples, the kind of shade that makes you forget you live in a cookie-cutter subdivision and not some magical forest. I was looking for peace. But the day I moved in, Trish shows up with a tape measure and starts measuring my hedge, announcing with her most official voice that vertical greenery is a threat to community vistas. She actually said vistas, like we're all sipping wine on the Amalfi Coast instead of standing in suburbia, USA. She writes up violations like some people collect souvenir shot glasses. I got nailed for non-harmonious wind pattern because my wind chimes apparently ruined her acoustic order. Got another one for excessive leaf attitude. Still no clue what that means. And don't get me started on fence color moody, just because I stained it walnut instead of honey oak, which is, you know, her color of choice. Most days, I just wave politely, pay whatever fines cost less than my sanity, and only push back when she starts getting real creative. If I have a hobby, it's minding my own business. If Trish has a hobby, it's minding everyone else's, with a clipboard, a neon highlighter, and the sort of relentless energy you usually see in people hunting fugitives. So then comes this Improved Views initiative. Pastel flyers all over the neighborhood. Eagles soaring over treeless hills, like the eagles were thrilled about being homeless. She calls a meeting, mandatory, of course, in the clubhouse, where she unveils this 17-slide PowerPoint. Dramatic pauses, laser pointers circling the offending trees, as if each one committed some personal crime. Canopy bloat, she declares, is killing our sunsets. She posts a volunteer sign-up sheet for brush removal. It sits empty for 3 days, looking lonelier than a leftover cupcake at a diet convention. A week later, 6 households, including mine, get fined for visual obstruction by native habitat. $50 because a tree that's been here since before the subdivision was a twinkle in a developer's eye is blocking her sunset, which, let's be honest, she can see just fine from her window if she stands on her tiptoes. Rumors start flying. Trish hired landscape consultants. Turns out, that's 3 high schoolers with weed whackers and zero common sense. Then she buys bulk accelerant from the farm supply, claiming it's for mosquitoes, even though mosquito season's 4 months away. And somehow, she talks Gerald, our trembling treasurer, into approving controlled ambience fires in the HOA budget. Gerald's the type who blinks when you say his name too loud. But say what you want about Trish, she could talk the devil into wearing sunscreen. I catch her behind my fence one afternoon, tying pink ribbons to perfectly good saplings. I ask what she's doing. She flashes a smile so sweet it gives me a cavity, tells me she's marking trees for aesthetic correction. I tell her those trees are on my property. She tells me property lines are a social construct when community beautification is at stake. I tell her to leave, and she does, but not before snapping photos of my deck furniture and mumbling about non-compliant cushion colors. Then, on a Sunday morning, So Dry the Weather apps got more red exclamation points than a toddler's coloring book. Trish assembles her fire crew. That's the 3 high schoolers, the safety chair Douglas, who wears a bike helmet just to check his mail, and Rick, who's only here because Trish promised him a discount on his next violation. They light a test patch at the base of the hill. Trish declares it a controlled burn. Next thing you know, the flames find the dry brush. The test becomes a demonstration, and that demonstration turns into a full-blown fire drill. Except nobody's in control. The flames race up the hill, chewing through her Tuscan-inspired mulch, setting those decorative grasses ablaze like someone dared them. When her pergola goes up, she finally panics, calls 911, shrieking, "Arson by homeowner in Lot 18B. Male with a hose. Aggressive watering. Possible eco-terrorist." That'd be me, standing in flip-flops, watering my maple like it's the Last Supper, biscuit at my side, tail wagging, not bothered at all by the circus 50 yards away. The fire engines roll in, one, then two, then three. I point out the tiki torches still burning along the tree line, the gas cans labeled citronella with little smiley faces, the HOA memo, view enhancement burn, duct taped to a stake like modern art. The fire captain reads the memo, blinks twice, and radios the county fire marshal. 10 minutes later, the marshal, who looks like he aged 5 years just driving here, calls state forestry. Now it's an incident, with agencies, acronyms, and enough paperwork to wallpaper the clubhouse. The marshal, voiced like cold steel, asks for permits. Trish produces a laminated authorization to improve aesthetics, signed by Trish, dated by Trish, and notarized with a stamp that looks suspiciously like it came from the kids' craft aisle. The marshal holds it to the light, squints, and starts ticking off legal violations like he's reading off a menu. Unlawful burning, red flag conditions, endangerment, you name it. Then the insurance guy shows up, suit, sunglasses, and the kind of briefcase that only holds denial letters. He sees the flaming pergola, the budget spreadsheet full of controlled burn kits, tiki torches on sale, the gallons of lamp oil, the fire starter cubes. "Who approved this expense?" he asks, colder than a Wisconsin winter. Trish points at the board. The board, all standing by the mailboxes looking like they wish they'd moved to Florida, points at the ground. Gerald mutters something about being on vacation during the vote. Suddenly, Pauline rides up on her bike, holding her phone high. She's got a video, Trish rehearsing her sunset equity pitch in the clubhouse mirror, promising everyone's Zillow value will soar once the trees are gone. Multiple takes. The marshal takes the phone, scribbles notes, then turns to me with a tired smile. "Mr. Hale, thank you for your garden hose and for not being insane." That's a direct quote. I just nod. Biscuit wags like he's just won the lottery. Fire crews finally box in the blaze before it eats the woods, but not before it leaps to Trish's roof. Now her Tuscan dream home is getting sawed open by firefighters, smoke belching out like angry volcanoes. Trish, desperate, tries to hand the captain a citation book, insisting the fire department is parked in a red zone. The captain ignores her and keeps working. Now the insurance rep is standing next to some serious-looking guy from the state environmental agency. A badge, a folder thicker than the HOA bylaws, the works. Intentional, unpermitted burns void coverage. Full stop. No exceptions. He reads off her own emails, quotes back every damning line. Accelerants to overcome damp wood ignition during red flag warning. She practically gift-wrapped the evidence. The environmental guy piles on fines for destroying habitat during nesting season, migratory birds, protected salamanders, you name it. Every word adds another zero to her bill. The marshal serves her a summons right there on her scorched driveway. Clipboard, carbon copies, the whole humiliating ritual. Embers float through the air like confetti at the world's saddest parade. Someone in the crowd starts a slow clap. Others join in. It's applause, real and cathartic. The HOA board, right then and there, holds an emergency vote, by a show of hands, right out in public, to suspend Trish from the presidency pending investigation. Gerald's hand shoots up like he's been waiting his whole life for this. Douglas nods, so hard his helmet falls over his eyes. The fines stack up, 25 grand from the state for habitat destruction, another 15 from the fire marshal for unlawful burning, 10 more for no permits, 5 for reckless endangerment. Insurance denies her claim, flat out. She's left with a tarp on her roof and a 6-figure repair bill, $140,000, not counting the pergola, the landscaping, or the now liquid patio furniture. County strips her of all HOA privileges. There's a note in the public record to follow her wherever she goes. She's banned from ever holding another title, clipboard, or laminator in this subdivision, or any other, probably. She just stands there on that ruined driveway, surrounded by officials holding paperwork, her face gray as the ashes at her feet. She tries to say something. Opens her mouth. Nothing comes out but this pathetic little whimper, like air leaking out of a popped balloon. Her hands are shaking so bad the citations rattle. Her prized laser pointer rolls into a puddle of fire hose foam. For the first time ever, Trish Delaney has nothing to say. No violations, no grandstanding, no lectures about vistas or standards. Just silence, smoke, and the sound of her own consequences catching up with her. So here's my question. Where do you draw the line between community standards and just plain old overreach? Was justice served, or did the whole place go too far? Drop your thoughts down below. Tell me if you've ever tangled with an HOA, or if you've got a story about neighborly improvements gone sideways. And hey, if you're rooting for the trees or for Biscuit, let me know where you're watching from, because out here in Birch Ridge, the view just got a whole lot clearer.